Hey there, my name is Kevin and I'm from MaximizingEcommerce.com. I help people build e-commerce businesses that they can be proud of. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what I learned in 2018 that I'm carrying over to 2019. And hopefully it's something that you also can find helpful as you're transitioning maybe from one year to the other. Maybe you're watching this the day it comes live, or maybe you're watching this sometime in the future. But as I record it, the principles involved with this are all still going to be the same regardless of when you're watching this. So really what I wanted to do is just share with you what I learned and how you might apply this as well. So just to kind of kick right into it, just to give a brief summary, if you've been following this channel for a while, you may have noticed I haven't had a lot of videos in the last few months as I record this in January of 2019. What I really did was focus on, which I'm going to get into here in my first point, the value of setting goals and taking risks. Now, it's a bit of a risk if you're growing a YouTube channel to not put out more content. But what my goal was at the time was to set myself up for a really good holiday shopping season in order to grow my e-commerce business so that I could then leave my job. And that's exactly what I did. So I learned quite a bit from that experience. And even going back prior to that, I had taken a risk of going to my boss at my old job before the summer and saying, hey, I'm thinking about going from 5 days to 4 days. Now, that was a bit of a risk. I wasn't sure how that was going to go over. And quite honestly, I don't think that they were thrilled by it. Now, they granted my my wish, so to speak. But I could tell that that wasn't something that was going to be a good long-term solution. So basically what we worked out is basically from May through August, I was working 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week in my full-time job. So they just, cut my salary by 20%. But that was a risk then. And because I was thinking about like, okay, maybe I can go to 3 or 4 days a week in 2019. But what that taught me was, well, you know what? They actually weren't too happy about that, and I don't think they would want me to do that again. So I decided the fair thing to do would be to just cut ties with that job. So I made sure to really maximize that holiday selling season so I could use that as a runway to really have a buffer as I now go into 100% full-time self-employment. So I learned quite a bit about the value of taking risks. Now, if you think about it, if I didn't take that risk back in May of asking, hey, can I go from 5 days to 4 days? Chances are I probably wouldn't have gone 100% full time like I have now. And then that's freeing up all my time to do all these other things. So I learned quite a bit there that it's good to take risks, and sometimes what maybe didn't work out exactly the way you wanted to can really benefit you with something else down the road. And that's exactly what happened there, was that I took the risk and asked for the 4 days instead of the 5 days. I realized we'll give it to you, but we're not necessarily happy about that. And I can understand where they're coming from. So then I decided, you know what, I need to just set the goal of leaving the job. And, I wasn't 100% sure when I wanted to do that, but then I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and just go all in and focus on the e-commerce business. What I also learned back in 2018, and this has been an ongoing thing I've learned my whole life, but that's just the importance of relationships. So I would say I've gotten to where I am at this point with being around other like-minded people. So that helps with, going to events, being active somewhat on forums, or just finding other people to make what the goal was real. Because I remember when I first started out, I was sharing with other people, hey, I'm interested in doing this e-commerce thing, back 3 years ago when I first started. And, people, I was pretty blessed. I had a lot of supportive people around me. I know people talk about stories of, no one wanted to support them in it. If that's the case with you, I'm going to help guide you at least how I found people that were supportive, because yes, I had my friends and family who were like, that's great, but it was hard to talk to them about it. Even though they, wanted to see me succeed. And I'm sure even if you have naysayers, so to speak, in your life, at the end of the day, they want to see you succeed. They want to see you happy, and they don't want to see you upset or frustrated or feel like things didn't work out. So sometimes people will try to guard us in what we're trying to do because they're trying to protect us. But Thankfully, I didn't have people that were overly protective. But at the end of the day, whether you're on that spectrum where no one around you supports what you're doing, or people are like, yeah, that's great, but then, how much do you really talk to them about it? I would say that the key component is that what you want to do is find people who are like-minded, people who are in the arena that you're looking to be in, so to speak. So, if you go to live events, like for me, going to Seller Summit was a really good live event, helped me find more people. Along the way, I was in a couple of other paid groups and, met people that I ended up, being accountability partners with. I found other accountability partners along the way, and just talking to people, even if they're on the other side of the country or the world, and they have similar goals and you can share goals and share frustrations, it really helps you along the way. Now, another thing I learned is don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Now, going back to my first thing about going from 5 days to 4 days a week, that was a risk. And by asking for that, I feel like I put myself in a situation where I ended up doing better in the holiday season because I did that, because it gave me time to really focus, to get myself ahead of the game going into the holidays. But then also what I learned with the don't be afraid to ask was my good buddy Scott Volker. I asked him, hey, because I'd met him at Seller Summit, going back to the importance of relationships, another person I met who's a really good guy, and you might know him from the Amazing Seller podcast. And I said, hey, I think you should do an event. If you do, I can help you, because I used to work in the hotel event space. And so the short of the story is, in September of 2019, and the goal is many years beyond that, we're going to be having an event every year. And the first one's coming up, which will be Brand Accelerator Live. I'll leave a link down to it below. That's not my goal here is not to pitch Brand Accelerator Live, but I asked. And, it could have been very easy for me to just say, well, he's kind of a big deal. He's got, a much bigger following than I do. He's just gonna be like, thanks for the idea. I'll consider it. And then never hear from him. But to his credit, he listened to what I had to say and he said, well, tell me more. And so I was like, oh, now I got to come up with more. So I was afraid to ask there. And, in some ways, whether, I don't know what your feelings are spiritually or things like that nature, but let's just say whether it's God, the universe, whatever, I wasn't afraid to ask of, hey, help, give me the guidance to make this leap. Is this going to work out for me? And, at times it was very stressful and whatnot, but I asked, put it out there, so to speak. And, I feel like I've had nothing but support from people along the way of, making this full-time job, leap from having a job to being now fully self-employed. What I also learned is the importance of time. So if you're watching this and you have a full-time job and you're trying to balance, like you have a side hustle like e-commerce, and you're, trying to balance it all, it can be tough. For me, it was a 3-year journey to get to this point where I'm now fully self-employed. And to be honest, that journey is going to continue. It's never going to be, oh, I've made it, I've arrived. It's always going to be, growing and trying to move forward. When you have time is your best friend and your worst enemy all at the same time. Basically, what I mean by that is, we all get one thing in common, 24 hours in a day. So we all get that math, 168 hours a week. Doesn't matter what we do. We're never going to get more. We're going to get less. It's just how we use it. So when it comes to the importance of time, what I realized was when I had a job, I really had to focus in on that time that I had available. Now, going from 4 days to 5 days helped me really see the value of having another day. Or just that one extra day helped me see the value of, okay, if I have a little bit more time, I can now grow the business because I needed more time. And I would say, the first 2 years or so, having an extra day would have been nice, but it wasn't really as valuable as it became when I got to a certain point. Because I think you get to a certain point where it's like you hit a ceiling of, I'd like to do more, but I can't because I just don't have the time. And it's like you can say, well, don't go watch Netflix or, don't play around on the internet too much. I was cutting those things back as much as I possibly could. but I was still hitting a ceiling of time. So I realized, an extra day can help me. So what if I had an extra 5 days of, full-time jumping into the business, my full focus. So I learned that was very important. Now, if you're watching this and you're like, well, how do I get time? Because maybe I can't ask my boss. I'm not in a position to ask my boss to cut down from 5 days to 4 days or some sort of part-time, or maybe you're just getting started in your journey and it just doesn't make sense yet. That's fine, but just whatever time you have available, make sure you use it to the best of your ability. And then as you start getting bigger, as your business grows, then what you're going to find is you need more time. And time could also be, maybe you have to start hiring people. And I hired my first full-time employee, if I can talk. I hired my first full-time employee in 2018, and that helped give me a lot of time. Now, that's an investment of time to train the person and get up and running, and she's doing a great job. But I had to, invest that time to get there, but it's paying back dividends. Now, before I did that, I also hired people on sites like FreeUp, just one-off tasks, or part-time freelancers and things of that nature. So it wasn't always hiring a full-time employee. And then I do some prep work at my house, and that was one thing I started doing early on that I feel really has benefited me, is that if I'm prepping or putting on labels and stuff like that, I could hire someone else to do that. So I hire people here locally to do it. I've got a couple people that help me with that, and it's good for them because it's extra money, and then I can work around their schedules and whatnot. And then for me, it's good because now I can focus that time on other things. So if you're starting to grow too, and you're doing certain tasks, whether they're physical tasks that you have to do right in front of you, or they're tasks on a computer, challenge yourself. Is that something you can give to other people? Then just the last one here is be good to people. So you never know who you're talking to and what it is that they, I don't want to say can offer you. That sounds kind of cheesy, but everyone you talk to, treat them as if they're, someone that could take your business to the next level, because you don't know. You don't know what doors they could open up for you. And not even looking at it in this kind of, transactional world, it just feels good to be nice to people. Now, one thing that I did, which was interesting, it was at my job. I don't know, interesting is probably a weird word, but at my last job, one of my duties was internal communications. So when I put in my notice, I gave them about 5 weeks so that they had plenty of time. It wasn't like I was like, hey, to heck with this place, I'm getting on out of here. It was, wanted to do the right thing, give them adequate time, for the transition and whatnot. But as a person who was in charge of internal communications at it was an insurance agency, we had about, at the time, about 150-ish employees. And I, couldn't tell everyone one-on-one, but I challenged myself for a lot of people that I'd, known for a little while, regardless of what their level was in the organization. Once I told the owners, because that was the fair thing to do, to tell, my bosses, so to speak, hey, I'm leaving. But then after that, rather than just, hey, everybody, I'm leaving, here's an email, I decided to go one-on-one with people and say, hey, just wanted to tell you face-to-face that I'm leaving. I was shocked at how much people valued that. And it was like some people, it was almost like, I wouldn't say in tears, but like touched would be the right word, that I would tell them. Like they wouldn't have expected me to go one-on-one with them and say, hey, because maybe I was at a higher level in the organization, or they didn't, I didn't think we were that close or whatever. But I just challenged myself to tell as many people as I possibly could, one-on-one, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm putting in my notice, I've respected you, and I try to say something nice, positive about them individually. Not just, oh, you're nice, but like, I always appreciated that you took the time to whatever they did that was good. And that went a long way. Now, I wish I could have done that with more people, but it just, got to a point. This was their busy season too. I didn't have time to talk to everybody. But, the good thing is just be good to people in general. Like, those are things that, like, it wasn't like there was a return on investment, so to speak, of, oh, if I'm nice to them, they're going to give me something. But at the end of the day, it just feels good when you put out, kind of a good energy, so to speak, and try to do other things for other people. And it's sometimes, in this day and age, and this is kind of another little lesson out of that, is that I think people are so starved for, the word I'm looking here is, they're starved for relationships with other people. We're so connected by social media and clicks and likes and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we want human connection. And so the more you can do to help form some sort of human connection with your customers, with people around you, I think it's just going to benefit you. So these are the lessons that I learned in 2018 that I'm applying to 2019. I would love to know, what have you learned that you're taking from, whether it was just recently or something you've learned along the way that's helping you as you grow as an individual. Please leave it in the comments down below. So hopefully you found this video to be helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you can give a little thumbs up and even share it with a friend. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to this channel. Now, thank you so much for watching it and making it all the way through, as I'm here in my new office and I'm still trying to figure out the lighting and whatnot in this room. So the lighting may not be the best, but I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I'm going to wish you the best on your e-commerce journey. Take care.